what you see here is, of course, the main hull assembly of the Dessler Carrier from the original space battleship Yamato series. And as I was preparing all these parts, I had a hard time cutting all these parts off the trees, not because of how old the kit is, but with so much red, you could pretty much get an epileptic seizure if you don't, if you don't look away every now and then, because there was so much red parts here. But putting these parts together is actually, I thought it was going to be a bit difficult for me because of it's an old kit. And, I think maybe there was going to be an excessive amount of plastic, what they refer to as flash, where it's like a little bit of a thin layer of plastic left over from the mold. This part of the ship doesn't have that much, just very little, so I didn't have to worry about that. The only thing was I had to really squeeze the parts together, like right here. This thing still keeps opening up, so I may have to re-squeeze it again, or maybe have to get myself some sort of tape it, because this gap here keeps opening and closing. So I may have to re-put glue again so I can close it up. So that was one of the tricky things that I had to do with this kit, with this part of the build. Another part, of course, in the manual is the assembly of, you have the actual conning tower of the ship, or the bridge, which when I was looking at it, it looked like that other ship that I was referring to. This one I'll be sanding around using a sanding sponge, so that way I can clean it up. Also, I have to be very careful because, and I better show you the next part to set this up. So this is actually the flight deck of the Dessler Carrier, which of course when you put it in, supposedly you can flip it about, so that way you have the regular flight deck and then you have the weaponry flight deck. Now take a look at this part here. Since back in the day they didn't realize maybe we should have made this one part, they made this two parts. So I had to assemble these two parts first together, then once it dried I had to sand it down, then using my hobby knife I began to scribe the inside here, as you can see, just so that when this thing is getting painted I can panel it. And then, I did that a couple of times, so it looks good. The gluing part, I had some trouble, considering that I ran out of paint of the extra thinner. Well, actually, one was empty, the other one was half full, the other one was semi-full. And what I did was I dumped one into one other bottle, like here, so I can utilize the thin paint here. So these two are going to go to the recycling bin. But besides using that, I realized that using this would not be a very good idea with this kit, because some of the parts do not conform well with this kit. It's not 100% perfect. It will work, but you'll have that little thin gap there that you see there, which of course you may want to use some putty to close it up. But in order for me to get this thing nice and solid once it's glued, I have this cement called, which is regular Tamiya cement, which is of course a much more thicker, denser type of cement than the extra thin cement. I'm using this one because I really don't mind using it on this if it makes a mess, because clearly there's going to be parts of this kit that I have to sand down and clean up. So that's pretty much what I'm going to be working in. This one I had to, I used the extra thin here. There's a little bit of globbing there, but using a regular sandpaper, I'll sand around the edges and even it out. And obviously, once this thing is all dried up and assembled, I will then of course glue it. I will then of course prime it, then paint it. And I haven't discussed about the paints yet, but we'll cover that later on. But so far, this is coming out the way it is. Let's continue on and see how it looks like a fully assembled. Alright, so as you could see, this is the Dessler Command Carrier. Somewhat complete, you could say. I haven't worked on the fighters yet, and I'll leave that later on. But I wanted to smooth out the whole thing to get it done. These parts are not glued. They're actually held by friction. There's enough friction space to hold the tower, and I'm not gluing on the cannon, the main gun, the shot cannons. I don't know if it's considered shotguns or not main weaponry, but it could be the main weaponry. But I did this so that way I can start sanding down and cleaning up this when I prime it and paint it, and then I'll be doing the same thing here and then detailing it up. Assemble the base, of course. That's done. That's pretty cool. Very good. This one gave me a little bit of trouble. The alignment was not proper, and there's a lot of gaps here. Very much amount of gaps. So if you're going to build this and you're going to want to do it more professionally than I do, you may want to fill in those gaps with putty. There's gaps here, of course. Gluing on the flight deck, I had to make sure that this kit, even though it's perfect, there's certain parts that are warped or not conform to this. So you have to like glue it, hold it down for like a good 15 to 20 seconds, up to maybe a minute if you have to, and then move on to the next part and glue it again so it stays. But sometimes it's not completely perfect, not completely perfect at all. But it still looks cool for the scale. This thing is, and I should have measured this. Let me use the my ruler here. It is literally 13 inches long. It's a 13-inch long kit. Now, this is the big part that gave me some trouble. I don't know if this is going to work on camera. And I'm going to need to use... Oh, here it is. Supposedly, and actually let me get the manual. Supposedly, you're supposed to turn these inward. Let me see. See, this is the part where it's annoying me. I think it's the other way around, but I don't know. It's not the other way, it's not this way. Here we go. So you're supposed to turn it that way, like so. Then carefully grab this, bring it up to there, then turn this until I guess the notches catches. And then snap it into place like so. And then you have the main weapon, followed by support, sub-weaponry and missiles and rockets or whatever. As you can see, that's how it is. The shininess, I don't mind shiny kits, but maybe on a ship, not so much. Not so much at all. Alright, with this being done, I'm going to put this to the side, and I'm going to move on to the next kit, which will be the assault carrier, the $21.99 assault version of this kit. Before we move on with the assembly of the Dessler Assault Carrier from the $21.99 animated series, we haven't had the opportunity to discuss on the paints that I'm going to need to make this kit. Now, obviously, this color, the carrier, like the original carrier, is all reddish in many aspects. However, we see different types of tones of reddish for this kit. And in order for us to replicate the way it is, I have to pull out the paints that I need. Now, for starters, I have my primer. I think I have enough primer in here. Let me see. Yeah, I have enough. I have another bottle of white primer. I can use that as a backup, but I should have enough to prime both of these kits, so that's fine. Now for the red color, and unfortunately I have this one called Shine Red, which could be for the bottom part of the kit, or I can use regular red. Regular red I've used in the past. Let me see if I have enough in here. Yeah, I got plenty. So I can use this as the bottom part of the kit for this. I also have metallic red, which of course clearly is not going to be part of the equation, so I'm not going to use that. That's going to be put to the side. The top part, I do have a darker red, which I'm trying to find. It was something that I used. I believe I used it. And give me a second. I'm drawing a mental block here. Oh wait, I think I know where it is. I believed I used it on my Aegis, but not that kit. I think I used it on the Broken Blade kit. I don't know if you remember me building the Broken Blade a long time ago. I had a good rose dark red. It was actually from Gunzo, but it was one of the aqua clear colors. Oh, good. Here it is. Unfortunately, this is ripped off because these caps are. Let's hope I can open this up. Of course not. Yeah, this thing is tight. But look at the darkness on that. That's great for the flight deck. I can. For those of you who don't know, put this in. Get yourself a little cup or a container. Fill it with hot water. Put it in there. Let it soak for about maybe 20 minutes. Pull it out. You'll open up fine. So I got other red paints here. Let me see what I got. Another metallic red. I'm gonna have to use that for a future kit. And then I got regular red. I think this would be a lot better instead of using this guy. Yeah. All right. Fair enough. So the bottom part of the lighter part of the red will be this. The darker part would be this for the flight deck. Perfect. I see some other colors here, some charcoal gray there, and I think around in the back, and around here. So I have this one. I have gold paint for the for this vehicle, and of course white is easy. And I'll try to use those same types of paints on the old Carrier. Now there is one thing many people are asking me, and I received an email about this. Am I going to put on this? My answer is yes, and here's the reason why. Yes, I can pretty much tape all this around, then spray paint it yellow, and then spray paint it, on the edges orange to do that effect. But no. I'm going to use this because I want to try it. It is a water slide decal. I've worked with water slide decals before, so it shouldn't be a problem. So I would like to show the pros and cons of it. Even if I make a mistake, I want to show it to you guys either way. So there you have it. Okay, let me begin unpacking all these parts and begin assembly.